Hey friends, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be looking at the new Shoot Your Shot collection from Loud Lacquer, which just released, and this is obviously their fall collection. It consists of 5 beautiful polishes in a variety of finishes. We have a couple of hollows, a couple of creams, and a topper. These are absolutely gorgeous, so let's just get into the swatches. The first shade is Greyscale, which is a super light gray with a delicate and sparse linear holographic sparkle, and it's hard to pick up, but there is also a gold shimmer running throughout as well. So since the shade is so light, it has an almost crelly kind of formula, so that way the holographic doesn't get totally lost in the base, but that does mean you'll need at least 2 to 3 coats depending on your application and your nail length, of course. Normally with Loud Lacquer shades, I do find them to be very creamy, so I got this opaque on 2 coats. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the hollow to show up, but I do like how subtle this is. So next up we have Bokeh, which is a rusty reddish brick with pink undertones, and it features the same linear holographic and golden sheen as the last polish, although I think you can tell that it's a little bit more apparent in this one, probably because of the darker base, and so there's just a better contrast there. But yeah, this one had an amazing formula. It just gave me almost full coverage on the first coat. I think if your nails were shorter, you could get away with doing 1 coat, especially if you're just, in a rush. But I ended up doing 2 coats for full opacity, and yeah, this is probably my favorite from the collection. It is just so, so beautiful. The next shade is Golden Hour, the first of 2 creams in this collection. So this one is a warm mustard yellow, and it has a pretty great formula, but I did end up needing 2 coats for full coverage. So I used to not be a fan of mustard yellows for fall, which I feel like is so controversial because they're a pretty popular shade, I think. I still am very picky about the ones that I like, but this one definitely makes it in that list for me because I just love how there's a warmth to it. Though I do think it's picking up a little bit brighter in my swatch, so make sure you stick to the end for some comparisons to other mustard shades that I love. But yeah, you'll have to let me know if you're a fan of mustard or not. The other cream in the collection is called Aperture, and this one is a dusty, medium slate blue kind of cream. And this one had such an amazing, buttery smooth formula. I don't think I did that thick of a coat, but I ended up getting full coverage. I was really, really impressed. So this one gets 5 stars, though you might need 2 if your nails are longer. And the last shade in the collection is Sepia, which is a sheer topper with a reddish pink kind of sheen. So even though the base is milky, it still is very, very sheer. So I'm going to be showing it on its own as well as layered over a couple of creams at the end. But yeah, I'm not really a big fan of toppers like this. One, because I just prefer toppers that have kind of like a sparse glitter or a holographic sparkle or something. I think these shimmery kind of toppers just look a little bit brushstrokey, and it's just not my favorite kind of look. So yeah, here is 2 coats on its own. You can see it looks a little bit milkier, but you're just not really going to get full coverage, but the sheen is really strong and pretty. So over white, it is very subtle, obviously, because it's such a light color. Then I'm showing it over Aperture, which is a lot more noticeable, but my favorite is over black because it's just so dramatic. I feel like in certain lighting, it just disappears completely, so it looks kind of cool. So moving on to comparisons, we're starting with Golden Hour, and I'm going to be showing it next to Loud Lacquer Pep Rally from last year's fall collection. It might look similar here, but it's a lot more pastel. So I'm also going to be showing it next to Zoya Honey, which now you can kind of see the colors are starting to look a little bit different, but they are way different on the nail. So Zoya Honey is definitely a much more true, bright goldenrod shade. Pep Rally is more of a muted pastel kind of mustard, and Golden Hour is definitely more of a neutral mustard shade. Next up for Aperture, I'm going to be comparing it to Olive Polish Cerulean, which unfortunately is sold out. And even though they might look very, very similar here in the bottle, they are different enough where I would not call them dupes. I think the Loud Lacquer is a little bit brighter, less of that dusty gray leaning kind of tone. But yeah, these are both beautiful. And lastly for Sepia, while I don't have anything exactly like this, I want to compare it to another topper from Loud Lacquer. This one is called Ice Queen. They have another one, I think, that's in this kind of milky base with, like, you know, a colorful shimmer. Obviously, Ice Queen has more of a purple sheen, but there are these little specks of silver micro glitters in there, whereas Sepia is just the pinkish red sheen. And that wraps up my swatch and review and comparisons for the Shoot Your Shot collection from Loud Lacquer. So as always, I would love to hear what your thoughts are on this collection or on the brand in general, especially if you have tried them before. I think I have talked about Loud Lacquer a few times or shared some polishes here and there during some comparisons, but I really do love this brand. I think they are an amazing indie brand. I love what they stand for, but I also just really can't recommend them enough for their formulas as well, especially their creams. They're just very creamy, very opaque, easy to work with, so I think they're pretty beginner friendly. And yeah, for this collection overall, I do love it. I think the colors are so beautiful, very perfect palette for fall. And if anything, it really is just this topper that I wasn't a huge fan of, but that comes down to a personal preference. There's obviously nothing really wrong with the topper. I just am not a big fan. So again, I'd love to know any and all thoughts that you have on this collection down below in the comments so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!